Believe we're working. Is this live? Let me check. Yeah. All right. Cool. First day of Senior Bowl practice. Hopefully everyone can hear me. First day of Senior Bowl practice wrapped up. I would say it was pretty good. It was pretty good. We got a lot of stars, a lot of guys that showed out and lived up to expectations, especially across the defensive line today, especially on the American team. I'll say the American team was a lot of fun to watch. I mean, the national team started off the day in the morning, but the American team was the one that was really, in my opinion, had a lot of the stars and a lot of the big names, especially, of course, like with all the roster changes in the last week or so. It was a little bit different having some guys come in, sub in, and stuff. So the American team is definitely the team to watch, in my opinion. Some guys that stood out to me. Let me just go down the list, I guess. Go down position by position. We'll start at DB. I gotta talk about my guy, Azariah Thomas. What a guy he is, too. 6'1", 190 something, I believe, is what he measured in at. And I think, yeah, I mean, like he kind of delivered. It was a rocky start for him at the beginning. We had it was like of course I posted about the rep against Tez Johnson. He fell down, whatever. But especially in the 11 on 11s, he definitely stepped up, and I think he had a big day today. Was someone who towards the end, I think, delivered a lot more so than in the beginning. It took a little bit for him to get his footing, literally, actually. So like, it was nice seeing him out there, a guy who I have a first round grade on. Another guy that I liked, DB wise. Let's go through. Um, is this the national? Yeah, national team DBs. Sebastian Castro had a good day. Quincy Riley, I feel like, had a good day as well. The cornerback out of Louisville. Liked what I saw out of him. I want to see more of Darian Porter, Iowa State DB. And yeah, I mean, pretty much the guy I was focusing the most on was Azariah Thomas, just because I had a first round grade on him. He's such a big name, in my opinion, and in this draft, and especially for a Washington team that kind of needs a DB or needs a corner. I know they got Marshawn Lattimore, Mike Sanders still, but there still needs to be that second guy, especially if Sanders still moves inside. There still needs to be that second guy for out on the outside corner, and whether it's someone that Washington drafts in the first couple of rounds or if it's someone through free agency, we'll just have to wait and see. But overall, Zuri Thomas was the guy I was focusing on the most. D line on the national team this morning. Gotta talk about Mike Green. All right, Mike Green is someone you guys probably know about him, martial edge rusher. He listed in at 6'3", 251, I believe. I believe is what he measured in at. So I mean, good measurables for a guy who was listed, I believe, in the 240s, and some worried that he was going to be in the 230s when the official measurements came around. But overall, great for him. In the 250s, above 250, and it's every bit 252. He's a big guy. I mean, I know I'm not that big of a guy, but like standing next to him is still a very big guy. So someone that I'm looking forward to seeing over the next few days, and wonder, of course, how many days they're going to stay here in Mobile. But Mike Green is someone who had a pretty big day today, and someone who I enjoyed watching. So the Marshall edge rusher, most productive edge rusher in college football last season. He had 17 sacks, had I believe 60 plus pressures, one of the best pass rush grades in the nation. So great stuff from him. Other news: Josiah Stewart, I think, also had a pretty good day today out of Michigan. The speedy edge rusher, kind of smaller build, but still someone that I think Washington and especially Adam Peters could have his eye on as a potential late day 2 pick into day 3. Someone potentially even our second round pick, actually. But someone who is 4 years at Michigan, or not at Michigan, but like 4 years in college football, and someone who I think a big time leader. Adam Peters loves his leaders, and someone who I think could have that commander tag that Adam Peters made popular last season or last draft in that draft episode when he's like, "Oh, Johnny Newton, Mike Sanders, still Jane Daniels, all commanders or whatever." So, um, yeah. So Josiah Stewart, someone that was fun to watch. Donovan Izaraku could be someone to watch. Landon Jackson out of Arkansas, very big guy, as well. A lot of these guys are very large human beings, especially on this defensive line, a stacked defensive line class that a lot of people are like looking at it as like the strength of this class, and for good reason, right? For good reason. So, um, it doesn't. Landon Jackson was someone that I enjoyed watching. Um, and I want to see more of Darius Alexander, the defensive lineman out of Toledo. Alexander was someone who I had my eyes for the national team practice. I had my eyes mostly on the wide receivers and DBs. So again, you can't really watch everything, right? Because it's a big stadium. On like one side of the stadium, you got the O line and the D line, and on the other side, you have the wide receivers and DBs. So you can't really watch both at the same time, or else you'll watch nothing. If that makes sense. Like if you try watching both at the same time, you're not going to be watching anything. So Darius Alexander is someone who I'm looking forward to seeing. I'm gonna watch the D line a lot tomorrow. So Alexander's someone I'm looking forward to seeing next in this next practice. Someone who I think I have a third round grade on currently, can raise it up or down based on this week's performances. And also when I go through the national team film and stuff from today, it'll be fun to watch him. So um, that was someone that was interesting. David Walker, someone I'm looking forward to seeing tomorrow as well. The linebacker, edge rusher, pass rusher out of Central Arkansas. Walker is someone who's very tiny. He's tiny for an edge rusher, pretty small, but he's someone who I think could definitely potentially find himself into being a day 3 pick, potentially even an early day 3 pick for Walker. So that's someone I'm interested with positional versatility, all of that for him. Since he's a smaller edge rusher, he's going to be more of an off-ball linebacker than off-line scrimmage compared to on. So um, yeah, that's the D line linebackers. Cody Lindenberg had a pretty good game, had a pretty good day. The linebacker out of Minnesota. I'm looking forward to seeing him tomorrow and into the coming days as well. He had a pretty good day. Um, Going to the offensive line now. The star of the day easily, I think, out of anyone, Gray Zabel out of North Dakota State had such a good day. You guys, I don't know if you've seen the clips yet. I know Marcus Mosher kind of put all of Gray Zabel's reps together and during one-on-one drills. He's got great initial strike. He's got good grip. His ability to reset his anchoring, and to anchor as well, and even just to carry the momentum of the defensive lineman into being beneficial for himself is awesome to watch. So I'm excited about Gray Zabel. I think he could play that. He would play himself definitely into being a top 40 pick in this draft. Someone who could potentially even find himself on day one, being drafted on night one. So Zabel is someone who I really like to see. Josh Connerly is someone who I think Washington could have an eye on second, third round. The left tackle out of Oregon, 6'3" or 6'4", I believe. And maybe he does get pushed inside like a lot of other guys, but still, it was fun to see him today. I thought he had a pretty good day. Um, who else? Wyatt Milam, I'm looking for more of. I think tomorrow and on Thursday. Milam was someone who I know there's a lot of big names on this team on the offensive line. A lot of guys to look at, not only Milam but Connerly and Bow, Zabel, Ariante Ursary. There's a lot of big names on this team, and so Wyatt Milam kind of went under radar. I wouldn't say it was anything super crazy from him. The West Virginia offensive lineman, offensive tackle, guard, play tackle, but most likely play guard in the league. So I'm looking for more of him today or tomorrow as well. So and then one last thing on the offensive line for the national team, Ozzy Trapilo out of Boston College. He's a 6'7" offensive tackle, like legit NFL size for being an offensive tackle. Someone who I'm keeping an eye on moving forward because it'd be a project, I would say, to have him be on the play on the outside. I would say, and I'm not I'm not sure if I'm entirely sold yet, but someone I'm keeping an eye on in the next few days as someone who could definitely improve and show that he is capable of playing on the outside. So obviously Trapilo out of Boston College is someone to keep an eye on. So um, let's go to quarterbacks, I guess, in this group. So the quarterbacks in this group on the American team, Tyler Shug, I think, Shug, I think is how you pronounce it, out of Louisville. Dylan Gabriel out of Oregon and Taylor Elgersma out of Laurier, the Canadian Elgersma. So um, I think those guys, I think they had a good practice, I would say, and I mean it wasn't anything crazy. Like yeah, if you've seen it, tweets and stuff, you guys know that like especially for quarterbacks, it can be pretty inconsistent early on because it just takes a lot of building up chemistry with your wide receivers, especially the wide receivers that you don't usually play with, right? So Gabriel, he has Tez Johnson on this team, but beyond that, it was kind of a struggle for those guys just to get um, get accustomed to throwing to these wide receivers and get accustomed to the uh, the game plan as well from coach, I guess in this case, Matt Kafka in this one. So nothing too crazy from the quarterbacks yet, but I wouldn't really expect anything. So that's just kind of how I feel about that. Running backs, a guy who I think could be a little bit interesting is Woody Marks out of USC. I think he could a great pass blocker. I think he could definitely be someone that ends up going late day 2 or early day 3 who could make an impact in a pretty stacked running back class. Some other running backs in this group: Damian Martinez out of Miami, Donovan Edwards out of Michigan, Ollie Gordon out of Oklahoma State, LaQuint Allen out of Syracuse had a pretty good day as well. So I was pretty much impressed for the most part out of this running back class, but still nothing too crazy. Or running back group, I guess, room, whatever. But nothing too crazy, I would say, out of these running backs either. Like again, it's just day one. I'm not going to try and make these crazy claims or whatever just through one day of practice here. But um, I'm looking forward to seeing more of these running backs. So moving to the tight ends, Elijah Arroyo out of Miami is someone who I think had a very good day today. He was very active in the passing game and someone who, I mean, he showed off his hands a lot. So his catch radius was impressive. Someone I was very impressed by in this one. So Arroyo out of Miami, definitely someone to keep an eye on. I don't know if Washington would be in the market for a tight end with Zach Ertz potentially coming back and with Ben Sinnott already there, but still someone I was impressed by during today's session. Harold Fannin, someone I want to see get more involved. Arroyo was the tight end that kind of was the main guy and main pass catcher in that tight end group today. So that just left guys with like Terrence Ferguson, Harold Fannin with less targets, and I want to see more of Fannin. I'm excited to see Fannin. I'm excited to see how his kind of undersized tight end, but like a very good pass catcher, very good in the receiving grade game, kind of gets evaluated by scouts here, and how people kind of think of a guy like Harold Fannin. So I'm excited for these coming days and seeing more of him, but didn't see much of him today. So uh, now into the wide receivers, wrapping this up here for the national team. Jaden Higgins and Jalen Noel, both from Iowa State. I think Higgins had a good day today. Same with Noel. Those guys came out together at the beginning of practice. They were very good, very connected with each other. You can tell they're good buds. So great stuff from them. Restrepo, I wanted to see more of him, similar to a guy like Harold Fannin. I just want to see more of him. Like I'm not gonna make a claim or anything. It's just there's only so many passes to go around, especially during drills like this. So some of these guys just don't really get targeted a lot, and that's fine. I mean, it's just one day. But you want to make your name known, right? And you want to rise up draft boards and stuff. So a guy like Restrepo can definitely do that. Another guy that was probably the highlighter in the wide receiver group on the national team, and probably the highlighter as the top receiver today, Tez Johnson out of Oregon was very impressive. I feel like these one-on-one drills were kind of made for a guy like Tez Johnson, or just made for Tez Johnson, because these one-on-one drills, this is where Tez Johnson needed to succeed, right? He needed to show he's got these very elusive route running, and he's got these stop. He can like stop on a dime and change direction quickly, flip his hips, right? That's what you want to see out of a guy like Tez Johnson. Just because, of course, he measured in at 5'9", 150, whatever it was. So you want to see that you want to see him create separation easily, and that's what he did today. And so that was great for Johnson. I think definitely impressed. I think his draft stock rose after performance like today. But you could also tell that Dylan Gabriel had that connection and that chemistry with Johnson down, so he trusted Johnson more during the 11-11s and wanted to target him some more. So um, that was kind of my thoughts on Jalen Lane as well out of Virginia Tech and Daquan Felton. Both of those guys out of Virginia Tech. I thought they had pretty okay practices. Wasn't anything too crazy for either of them, but they both did get involved. So I'm excited for the next few days for them. Some guys I'm looking forward to seeing in the future. Peebles, the defensive tackle out of Virginia Tech, is someone I'm excited to see. Josh Joyner of Minnesota over the next few days, and of course, like I mentioned, Darius Alexander as well at Toledo. So those are some of the guys that I'm looking forward to seeing because again, there's 3 practices, right, and then the game on whatever Saturday. So there's a lot of time left to make your name known, and just adjusting to the different quarterbacks throwing you the football, running backs, different handoffs, and for the centers, like different snaps, you're snapping to different quarterbacks. It's important for teams, for players and prospects to get adjusted, and that's kind of what teams are measuring who can get adjusted quickly, who can get adjusted the quickest to some of these new schemes that they're learning. And I mean, the first day there was a lot of miscues. You could tell, not just for the American national team, but for both teams. A lot of just miscues, simple stuff. A lot of penalties, false starts, um, snapping stuff, especially with the American team. So I mean, like there's some things that definitely need to be cleaned up. But it's the first day. So if this goes into like future days, it's definitely something to take note of. But for now, you just kind of see it how it is. Like you're not going to make a big statement about it or anything. It's their first day practicing with a lot of these guys. So not gonna say like make a big claim or anything. So as for the national team had practice today from 12 to 2, I believe, or 12 to 2:30 or something like that. Something like that. So national team, definitely was sorry, American team was definitely the highlighting team. It was a team that I think had the most talent on this roster. Some guys that stood out to me early, especially in the DBs, Maxwell Hairston and Trey Amos. So Amos had he just looked so smooth out there, especially it was just in the drills, like some backpedaling drills that they did, plus some drills, like pass breakup drills that they did. Amos looked really good, really smooth. The Ole Miss DB, I think, had a very good performance today, and potentially, of course, could push himself into the first round, but most likely probably going to be in the day 2 range. And then a guy like Maxwell Hairston as well, who could definitely find himself in the first round. I think there's definitely a non-zero chance of that happening. So Maxwell Hairston is someone who was very impressive today. Um, Someone I'm looking forward to seeing. And another guy that stood out to me literally was BJ Adams, just because of how big he is. If you look at Adams and you look at the rest of the DBs, especially guys like Jacob Parrish and some of the other ones, Adams is just massive, guys. BJ Adams out of UCF is he's just a massive human being, and good to take. It's good to take note of that. Like who are these like some of these athletic freaks, and like where can you put them and stuff. So it's it's gonna be fun to watch these guys develop over the next couple of days because they're gonna learn a lot of stuff. So it'll be interesting to see. So um, across the defensive line, I mean, guys. This is where pretty much like the everything was happening on this American team defensive line. There's so much to talk about. Oh, there's so much to talk about. But before I get to that, because I think I want to put that all in one. But with the O line and the D line, I know this is like very bad tease, but I'll put all the O line and D line together. I'll go quickly over the quarterbacks and the running backs and the tight ends and my receivers. The quarterbacks, Milrow, Riley Leonard, Jackson Dart are the quarterbacks in this one. Really hope we take a chance on Jalen Royals. Yeah, I mean, I agree too. I think Royals had a very good day. Real quick though, the quarterbacks, Milrow, Dart, Leonard. You guys have seen it. It wasn't the prettiest of performances for any of those guys. Seth Hannigan was in this group as well, out of Memphis. So it was not the prettiest of days for any of them. Jackson Dart had like 3 fumbles in this as well. But again, that's just them adjusting to these new centers that they have, plus some of these other the offensive line, defensive line stuff. Like they're adjusting to a lot with all these new players, all these new teammates. So I'm not going to go crazy on like them for fumbling a snap or anything, especially on the first day on your first snaps with a new center. So other things, I will go to the wide receivers. Jalen Royals had a very good day today out of Utah State. I thought he looked very good. Probably was the best wide receiver out of these wide receivers on the American team, I think Royals could be a guy who Washington definitely could take a chance on, maybe on a day two. I don't know because Washington is weird, right? Because you have Terry McLaurin as your wide receiver one, and like he's a smaller wide receiver, but still a great contested catch guy. So do you want to take a chance on a bigger wide receiver who's kind of like the same skill set as Terry McLaurin, even though Terry McLaurin's kind of smaller? Do you want a bigger receiver to make your receiver room bigger? Or do you want a guy like Jalen Royals who could be a very good separator and more of a slot guy? Still, could he put up the production of a wide receiver too? Maybe, but you're not entirely sure. And so you just gotta really hope that he can create separation quickly. So Royals is a guy that I liked. And then I got a chance to talk with Ty Felton out of Maryland. Felton is someone who I really liked coming out. I mean, I guess he's still in this draft process, but Felton is someone. If you know me, I'm a big DMV guy. I'm from the Northern Virginia area, and I went to Briarwoods, and Briarwood's main rival is Stonebridge, right? Stonebridge, and Ty Felton went to Stonebridge, so I got to chat about that with him and his time from transitioning from the wing T offense that they have at Stonebridge. Very, very run heavy, very run reliant. So you didn't really get to see a lot of him, a lot of his stuff at Stonebridge to now progressing into Maryland's offense, where he became the wide receiver one this past year at Maryland and led the country in receiving yards for a good portion of the season, I believe. So um, very, very good receiver in Ty Felton, and so I got to talk with him, which is really cool. So shout out Ty Felton, great guy. He's a great guy. Um, other players in this one, Brew McCoy, Jack Beck made a very good catch today. You guys have probably I don't know if you've seen it on Twitter, but like reached out, it's like reached out, made a great catch, showed off his catch radius. So I love to see that out of a guy like Jack Beck. He's been through a lot in the last few weeks, and so coming out here and showing out, I know Senior Bowl's doing a lot for his brother here. So it's been great seeing the TCU wide receiver. So um, another position, running back in this one. The running backs on the American team that probably played pretty well, that sort of like that were on this roster. Jarquez Hunter out of Auburn, R.J. Harvey out of Central Florida, Marcus Yarns out of Delaware, Devin Neal out of Kansas, Brashard Smith out of SMU, Trevor Etienne out of Georgia. Yeah, Jane Higgins is at the Senior Bowl. He's on the national team, so he did this morning. So I talked about him a little bit earlier. Yeah, Higgins I mean, he had a very good performance. I thought both of the Iowa State guys played pretty well. I'm looking forward to Higgins. Like Higgins is a true 6'4" receiver, and so I'm looking forward to seeing Higgins in the next few days because I mean, I think he had a pretty good performance today, and you can definitely tell the guy is one of the tallest receivers out of any of these receivers that are here. So true 6'4" guy. But some other guys, yeah. So back to the running backs here on the American team. Marcus Yarns, all right. I'm putting my name on the Marcus Yarns train. I'm hopping on because Marcus Yarns out of Delaware had great contact balance today. I know it can be a little bit misleading because you have some that are like, oh, the guy just didn't want to tackle him because he doesn't want to injure him, and then some that are like, oh, well, he would have been tackled, right? He would have been tackled if this was like a real football game because the practices you don't want to be 100% full contact. I would say at the Senior Bowl is the most you get out of a practice is like 80% full contact. I would say 75 maybe, but Marcus Yarns had a couple runs today that were just true like 20, 30 plus yard runs where the DBs, the linebackers did try to get to him, did try to tackle him, and Yarns' contact balance is just crazy. So very impressed with what I saw from Marcus Yarns today. Devin Neal is someone who I know a lot of people like, and kind of like the Devin Neal train came back, especially towards the end of the 2024 college football season, because Neal was like someone who produced a lot for that Kansas football offense. So Neal was someone who I thought impressed today, and then Trevor Etienne as well as a Florida fan. My Trevor Etienne relationship is complicated, but jokes aside, I love the guy, and Etienne is someone who had a pretty good day today as well. So those are some of the running backs that stood out to me. Tight end wise, there's only 5 tight ends: C.J. Dupree, Jake Stool, Mason Taylor, Thomas Fidone, and Jackson Hawes. I didn't really get a chance to watch the tight ends because, like I mentioned, you can't really watch everything. You kind of look back at Twitter afterwards and like try and catch up on the stuff you don't know. But it sounds like Mason Taylor had a pretty good day today. Jackson Hawes as well out of Georgia Tech. So just you kind of like there's 3 days, so you kind of go around and like switch what positions you're watching every single day. And you try and catch up on Twitter for the rest of it because again, there's so much happening at one time that if you try to watch everything, you're pretty much watching nothing. So those were the tight ends, though. All right, the O line and the D line. All right, the O line and the D line. I want to talk about this because this is where the meat of the roster here at the Senior Bowl is. On the American team offensive line, you have guys like Emory Jones, Miles Frazier, Clay Webb, Jonas Savanea, I believe, Carson Vincent. All right, there's a lot of guys. All right, Armand Membo, by the way, did not practice today with an illness. He had a stomach bug. It sounds like it looks like he'll be back. Um, someone told me a source said or whatever. He'll be back tomorrow. He'll be back together. He'll be back tomorrow. So Armand Membo will be back tomorrow. He was sick today. So Membo is someone who I'm looking forward to. But a guy I want to talk about. All right, this guy has been a lot of people have been talking about him. All right, I tweeted about this guy, Willie Lampkin, out of UNC, 5'10", 270 pounds. All right, and this guy stood up against one of the best, one of the not only the best, but one of the biggest defensive tackles in Deion Walker here at the Senior Bowl. I would say he is the biggest defensive tackle here at the Senior Bowl, and just the way Willie Lampkin's able to use his leverage and I mean the power in his legs. The guy is so tiny going up against someone who is 9 inches and 70 pounds bigger than this guy. And Lampkin is able to hold his ground against a guy like Deion Walker. Super impressive. I don't know what's next for Willie Lampkin in terms of will a team use him more in a fullback role? Will a team use him more in a center role? Because really, I would say the only position he could play with this size is center. But maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm wrong, and maybe defies the odds, and that'd be awesome, right? But realistically and historically, it sounds like the only position that a guy his size can play is center, and maybe it's fullback. I don't know. So we'll have to wait and see on that one. But Lampkin was someone that really impressed me. Clay Webb was someone that impressed me. Um, but yeah, and in terms of the defensive line, I mean, all the first round guys were as advertised. Walter Nolan, dominating. The South Carolina guys I thought were pretty good as well. Princely Uman Mielen, Deion Walker, Cam Jackson. All the names you think would have a good day today had a good day today across that defensive line. One of them, though, that I think would I would say had the biggest day was Omar Norman Lott, the defensive tackle out of Tennessee, who's kind of right now sitting in that late day two range, I would say, consensus wise. But Omar Norman Lott, who only played 17 snaps on average per game, which is not a lot, by the way, last season for Tennessee. In a bigger role, will he be able to keep up the production? He had high production in those 17 snaps. But Norman Lott going up against some of the best interior offensive linemen the Senior Bowl can offer, and he was dominant. He was dominant, truly dominant. So Omar Norman Lott is someone that I love a lot, and I mean I watched a little bit of him, but what didn't really do a deep dive yet on him. But I mean after this Senior Bowl performance, yes, I'm going to watch a lot of Omar Norman Lott, and I think I'm going to like this guy a ton because he was so disruptive in the backfield. Great run stopper, just dominating the interior offensive line of the American team. So a guy that I love and a guy that I can't wait to see in the coming days. So yeah, that wraps it up really. I went through both rosters, answered a couple questions. I mean, it was pretty good. It was a pretty good day today. I'm excited for tomorrow. Tomorrow, expect a lot more interviews and stuff. I only got a couple in today, but tomorrow expect a lot more because not only will we have the 10 minutes after each practice to talk to players, but we're actually going to have an entire like hour almost to talk to each team later on in the afternoon. So expect a lot of content coming your way. Also, um, if you want more content as well, I've got a podcast every day. Of course, keeping up with the Commanders that I do, but then also I'm here for Rowan Radio 89.7 WGLS FM, so you can listen there. Follow the Rowan Radio Sports Twitter and social media, and we got Third and Long, the Rowan Radio podcast coming out. every single day this week. So it's going to be a lot of fun here with Sam and a few other guys. So it's going to be a lot of fun. But yeah, that's going to wrap this up here. Just wanted to go about 30 minutes talking about some of my big guys and some of the guys that impressed me a ton today. But yeah, that'll do it for today's live episode of Keeping Up with the Commanders. See you guys next one. Peace.